Nintendo wants you to hate Nintendo music. Welcome to the Normal People Gaming Podcast. Welcome to episode 5 of the Normal People Gaming Podcast. My name is Michael.
And my name is Duane.
So, Duane, have you pre-ordered Alarmo yet?
Yeah, you just sent me that video, and we're talking about Alarmo, which is Nintendo's new alarm clock with integrated Nintendo music and sound effects. I almost got like the chills.
Yeah.
Because I was like, this is so cool.
Uh-huh.
And the video kind of continues on. I mean, I'm a Gen Xer. I grew up with the original NES. This would be such a neat thing to wake up to Nintendo music. It's actually kind of interactive. And then I started thinking a bit more about the consequences. And this is probably where you're going to go with it. But we both have spouses, right? And I'm just thinking like my wife would take a sledgehammer to that.
That's funny.
The very first day, like there would be no after it wouldn't be like a week later, hon, that alarm is, we can't really have that going on in here. We both have iPhones and we both have the wake up thing, which she has implemented. I probably would still be waking up to a straight up alarm if it weren't for her, but it has the gentle kind of, whatever alarm, not alarm, but wake up, which is, you should not be waking up to alarm. Just the word alarm is alarming.
It's alarming.
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking about the spouse angle, and that is really important to consider, since like gamers are all ages now. And not only that, but any alarm sound that you put, let's say in the past you could choose a song, right? I'm going to wake up to my favorite song. You end up hating that song because that's the song that says, get up and go to work.
Right.
You lazy piece of crap. And you end up hating that sound.
Do you ever have the issue where you hear the alarm and it's not going off because your brain knows?
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll hear it's the weird. It's like feeling your phone buzz and your phone is like not even in the same room, like getting the leg vibration.
Yeah. Which is interesting because I've heard the explanation that our legs always had that thing happen where you would feel a vibration. But before phones existed, you would just think, oh, my muscle did something weird. And you wouldn't think much of it. But because it matches this new technological thing that we deal with, we're like, what? What? How did I feel my phone when it's not even there?
That's hilarious. Yeah, didn't they have like a drug like for nervous leg syndrome? Does that have anything to do with
restless leg syndrome?
Restless leg.
I remember those ads.
Yeah.
So funny. I was watching the Alarmo thing, and I agree with you. Like, I got this mix of really thinking it was cool because, yes, it has this interactiveness to it. So let me just say that, yes, that's a positive in that as you start to move, it's like coin sounds, like make it like it's like rewarding you for getting up and being responsible, I guess. But those coin sounds, even in that first trailer, started already to sound so obnoxious to me.
Absolutely.
I think those sounds would drive me crazy.
I don't think they nailed it on sound selection and the movement. While it's an interesting thing, hopefully you can disable it because your dog jumps off the bed and coins are going off, and I mean there's there's a lot of issues I see with the coins. Also, just the sheer wanting to make the coin happen, so you just start fist bumping.
Right. That would be cool.
Should we describe this for someone who has no idea, like hasn't watched the Alarmo ad?
Yeah, actually.
What is it exactly?
What it is Nintendo has an alarm clock that apparently is watching you, because they say that it goes off gently at first and that it gets more intense as you're not getting up. The sound seems pretty intense right out the gate.
Agreed.
Especially compared to what you're talking about with Apple, the iPhone sounds, because that's what I use as well. yeah, it starts with playing music from either Mario or, Zelda. There's, I think right now it's like Pikmin, there's 5 Splatoon, there's 5 different games
Yeah.
now, and then there's going to be updates later if you connect it to the internet.
I really liked that they said there's going to be updates because I'm older. My generation is NES. So I want to hear da na 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 na.
Yeah,
Or do I? Or do I? I don't
I
know.
don't
Like
know.
I want to hear classic Mario Brothers or like Dr. Mario or some of the original NES Nintendo songs, that 8-bit.
Yeah.
I think I could wake up to that, just bring the volume up so subtly, and then maybe instead of the coins, the jump sound effect.
Yeah.
It's or like the one up sound effect. I don't know, like something a little more subtle perhaps.
If you're listening to this and you haven't watched the video, the other thing that they do is it notices when you're moving around in
Hmm.
bed. So as you begin to stir, you start getting those coin noises, or if it's Zelda, it's some other noises. I don't know, like sword
Yeah.
clashing. I'm not sure because I don't think they demoed that in the video,
Hmm.
but. Then apparently it turns off completely if you stand up and get out.
Yes. Stand up or just like sit up, because in the video they sit up.
Yeah.
My teenage son, he will sit up and then he'll lay right back down. And
Oh yeah.
if it
And
goes
then
off,
you go back into a deeper sleep
yeah.
than ever before.
You're dreaming of Mario at that point.
Number one, it looks very simple and it apparently has these motion sensors on it.
Hmm.
Yeah, it really, number one, it only works for a single person. Because if you have somebody else in the room, or like you said, a dog, I don't know, a cat, how good are these sensors? And if they're not good enough, then it won't work well. But Nintendo usually makes pretty good stuff. But then
Right.
if the sensors are good, I'm like, dude, I don't know, like it's watching you, like always, like Santa Claus.
It's like the Facebook tablet thing. What is it called? I have one. I don't even know what it's called, but like it sits in your kitchen and it has the eyeball on it, and you can cover the eyeball with a little like plastic cover.
Yeah,
You kind of feel like it's
yeah.
Hal from 2001, just like,
Oh yeah.
silently watching and waiting.
We have a creepier one. We have the Amazon, the Echo Show,
Hmm.
which has the tablet that turns and faces you when you talk to
Oh,
it.
wow. That is creepy.
And it's creepy. We got used to it. And then one day Amazon has this function on it
Hmm.
that is called like Sidewalk or something
Wait,
like
wait, wait.
that.
Shh. Say it a little quieter because it's watching
Oh
you
yeah.
right now. It turned over and it's listening.
It's like inching closer in the
Yeah.
hallway. Like
It's
every
jumping.
time I turn around, it's a little bit closer. It has this function on it called Sidewalk, and it's like, oh, we're gonna improve internet for everyone by letting your neighbor's devices connect to your internet. Like the whole thing is like to generate this web, and I'm like, no, I'm
Yeah,
not.
that's
Like
obtrusive.
what the like what is happening? And not only this, here's what I hate about these things. I went in, it told me I could opt out, so I went
Hmm.
into the settings and turned it off. Guess what happened a few months later when it updated
I
itself?
was going to say,
Oh, oopsies.
whenever they update.
We turned it back on.
Yep.
Yeah. And I literally got a notification on my phone that said some random dude's name, someone I don't know, and it's like, so and so, Bob Smith, just connected to your device. Like it's a good thing.
Right.
And I was like, I can't tell you how fast I went and unplugged that thing.
Speaking of sledgehammers earlier, like
Yeah.
you're out in the garage just smashing that thing. Well, I mean, unfortunately, you're going to end Jeff Bezos' live feed of your living room. He's sitting up there
Yeah.
in Earth orbit with thousands of screens watching all the people's.
Yeah, just watch it.
It's like that movie
It's like Batman's
Sliver or
computer.
yeah, Silver or Sliver. Did you ever see that with
I didn't see that one.
the Basic Instinct actress?
With Sharon Stone?
Yeah, Sharon Stone. It's got one of the Baldwin brothers in it too. Anyway,
Probably the best one. The best Baldwin.
He is the best one now, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an intriguing object. I feel like it's for younger people that are single. I don't see people that have, a significant other using the Alarmo, but who knows? I mean, there are couples
Yeah.
out there who they're holding hands on a hike. It's that
Yeah.
couple. So,
It's the couple that if there's a couple that has matching, like they both have their own Nintendo Switch and they get up at the same time, this is for them.
right. And they both love the same game.
And I'm not even making fun, and I'm not making fun of that couple. Like good for you.
Yeah. Well, speaking of couples, like, can you imagine, if you have the Alarmo on and you have other things going on, nocturnal activities, shall we say? And the coin sound effect.
How oh my god. That well, now I'm gonna buy one.
Yeah.
I just yeah,
Oh,
someone needs to contact Nintendo support, Alarmo support, and ask
right.
about these things.
Honey, why are you setting the alarm right now? You'll see.
Ba-bling, ba-bling, ba-bling. Yes, yes.
Where do we go from there? I don't know.
Where do we go from there?
So, Michael, well, let me ask you this. What are you playing since we've last updated our normal people gaming? It's been a couple weeks, right? So,
Yeah, it's been a little while.
mhm.
Well, we had talked about the game Still Wakes the Deep.
Yes.
And at the time I had not played it. Now I have played, I would say about half of it.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Still Wakes the Deep is really, really good. It has great voice acting. I really just need to finish it and get through it. It's interesting. It's very cosmic horror.
Yeah. And this is the oil rig game, right? It's
It's
a
the
first
oil rig.
person, no
Yeah.
weapons, right?
As far as I can tell, yeah, so far, yeah, not really any weapons.
What do they call that genre? It's like you're trying to escape before whatever is behind you gets to you. You're trying to find a way out, kind
Yeah,
of.
and there's like hiding and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
That is actually interesting because I don't know if there is a name for that genre, or if there is, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But I've definitely played quite a few of those, like Amnesia and Outlast, games like
Yes.
that.
Hmm.
I'm not really scared playing this game.
Okay.
And that's what's kind of interesting. And maybe it's because I play a lot of horror games, but it's it's beautifully horrific.
Hmm.
So it does qualify, like it qualifies as a horror game just because it's a horror subject matter and the things that you see are pretty grim and gruesome. But
Yeah.
I never really feel scared playing this game. Like Outlast, oh my god, that game was scary. Like I felt terrified playing it. And
Hmm.
and Amnesia as well. Like absolutely, like where there were times where I actually wanted to turn the game off. Like
Mm.
I don't know if I can do any more of this today.
Hmm.
Uh, but Still Wakes the Deep, it's more, it's just interesting. But I like it. That's not a
Okay.
criticism, but I
And
think,
I mean, a bit of a
yeah.
criticism is that you haven't finished the game. It wasn't compelling enough. But to be fair, we
Yeah.
run a Starfield podcast, and Starfield came
Yes.
out with the Shattered Space DLC, which obviously we won't get into here because we have an entire sister podcast, Starfield with Normal People, where we talk,
Yep.
that sort of thing to find detail. But yeah, I think we've both been playing a lot of Starfield lately because of that. So that's taken
That
away
is
from.
true.
Mhm.
It seems to be that like I'll play it, I'll start playing another game and then yeah, not only because of our podcast, but also because I just enjoy being in that world. Um,
Yeah.
but I am trying to play other games. There's an update coming out for Dead Island 2 that
Yes.
I'm very excited about. So keep a close look at our channel because I believe October 22nd this update comes out, and I would
Hmm.
like to get in there, play it, and talk about it in a video. So
You were saying it has like horde mechanics in this
In
uh
the update,
in the
yeah.
update, yeah, which is, fun.
The update's going to have a new mode called Neighborhood Watch,
Mhm.
and it's basically horde mode. You're going to have like, I think it's like 3 or 4 days in the game to kill zombies, kill basic zombies, and prepare, like you fortify
Yeah.
your
Oh, that's
little
cool.
area.
I like that. It's like a tower defense.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. The final night, I guess it's just when a massive horde comes and
Mhm.
you're either ready or you're not. So that should be really exciting.
That's called neighborhood sidewalk, where Bob Smith, your neighbor, comes over and says that he's attached to your device.
He's like, "Hey, I connected to your Wi-Fi." Wow.
Thanks for the Wi-Fi. So I bought Contra 2-pack on Steam. Of course, I've always loved the original Contra on NES, and I was
Me
looking
too.
for, how sometimes when you go back and visit an 8-bit classic, or even like maybe a game from 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, and nostalgia has kind of glossed over, some of the realities of the game. It's not as good as you remember. Well, Operation Galuga, which is one of the games that I got with this 2-pack Contra game, is basically Contra kind of updated. It's still a side scroller, but it's like it's the Contra that you remember in your mind. So it's like
Oh, interesting.
it's got way better graphics. It still has all the fun like spread gun and the two-player mechanics and kind of
Yeah.
the similar sound effects, but it's tweaked and it's really well done. So I was very impressed with it. And then the second part of the 2-pack was the actual collections anniversary, which includes pretty much every Contra game going back to the original NES or arcade version, I should say,
Yeah.
and including games like Super C, Contra 3.
Those have to be some of my most played games from that time period. The Nintendo and Super Nintendo time.
Konami just did such a great job as a developer back in the day.
Yeah.
When you got a Konami game, you were usually getting a game that was well developed and was fun to play. That was,
Yeah.
forget Nintendo's seal of approval. It was
Right.
more like, is this a
Yeah.
Konami game? I'm buying it. So,
It is true that time period, the early days, I agree. Like the name Konami actually had like a lot of weight behind it, and you
mhm.
knew it was a good game. Not not as much these days. I think they're trying
How
to
far are they
find their
fallen?
way.
Are they?
Yeah, well, they started making tons of money with pachinko machines and
Yes.
in Japan and gambling machines here in the U.S., which we know very well
Mhm.
because we live in Las Vegas.
Well, I think we mentioned this on maybe one of the earlier pods that they have a big operation here in Vegas. So
Yep, they
a lot of people
do.
here in Vegas work for Konami.
But yeah, I think they're trying. I think they're trying to get back.
Yep.
We'll see.
I saw kind of an interesting story that was that leaked copies of Call of Duty Black Ops 6 reveal massive file size requirements. This is an article I saw
Hmm.
on Game Rant. And Michael, I was going to ask you, I never really pay attention to file size requirements. And apparently, the storage requirement of Call of Duty Black Ops 6, minimum 137 gigabytes on Xbox Series X and S.
Yeah.
Now, when I say 137 gigabytes, what does that mean to you in terms of like, is it a huge game? Do you even
Yeah.
care?
Here's the thing. Games are getting bigger and bigger all the time. But games now on the Series X range anywhere from very low, which is, I would say 20 gigabyte is very low for a Series X game, to, for instance, Starfield's 100 and something gigabytes, which I just saw. So,
Hmm.
like, some of these larger games are really big. Now, the problem, my personal problem with Call of Duty, I was really hopeful that Black Ops 6 was going to be its own game. And what I mean by that is for the last 3 Call of Duty games, they have attached themselves to this singular Call of Duty launcher. So if
Mm,
you go in there and that's the minimum, okay?
right.
137 is the minimum.
It says it suggests users will need a minimum of 145 gigabytes, is what they
Yeah.
suggest. So yeah.
Well, and here's the thing is having done, having played a bunch of the Call of Duties like in recent years, if you want the high res texture packs, that's going to be more gigabytes. And
Hmm.
then the multiplayer maps, that's none of this is part of that minimum. Okay. So they actually have the story mode also as a different pack. So
Wow.
Warzone is its own thing.
Hmm.
So the thing is, they want everyone playing Warzone because that's their free to play multiplayer game and they make a ton of money on skins and stuff.
Right.
Like at least it's coming to Game Pass. For me, I already have Game Pass, so okay, great. I can just download it. To answer your question, what does that look like? Let's say it's Xbox has the Series S so that, that's sort of like entry level, like anyone that just they might want a system just for one game. There's a lot of people that might do that. Let's say you only have 480 gigabytes available to you. Yeah, that's like this Call of Duty game is taking up anywhere from a fourth of your entire hard drive.
Hmm.
And then if you have the other games, let's say you like the other Call of Duty games, that could be taking up your entire hard drive just for like 3 Call of Duty games.
Right. Which is making me think, to your point, they have the
Yeah.
X, which has a 1 terabyte hard drive.
Yeah.
So they are supplying a system that is capable of handling much more. But man, hard drive space, especially SSD, they probably need to put a couple SSDs in an Xbox, I would think, if the games are getting this
Well,
big.
the new Series X refresh that's coming this holiday,
Hmm.
which isn't really a pro system, it's kind of the same thing, but it does have a 2 terabyte hard
Yes.
drive. I personally actually bought the little expansion cards that they have. That's
Hmm.
like an additional terabyte, and I did that a while back. So I haven't had to worry too much. I personally got one because then I didn't have to really worry about space, and it's nice. It's honestly, it treats it almost as though it's internal. Like it really just hardly, you don't see a difference.
Oh, big news, Michael.
Big news?
Yeah, Concord might be coming back.
I did see that.
I know you were on the
Yeah.
edge of your seat, hoping that Concord would come back. And by the way, Concord makes you think of either the airplane if you're older like me, or like a bird, perhaps. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's a great name for a video game.
I Okay, that I'm glad you told me that because I immediately think of grape jelly.
That's right, Concord grape jelly. Of course. I don't know why I
Yeah.
didn't think of that. Yeah. Oh,
That's
interesting.
that's what that's what came to me. Like anytime I didn't know what Concord was. My friends were talking about it. I have two
Hmm.
friends that bought it like right when it came out, but they're big time gamers. They kind of play everything,
Yeah.
and they actually got the special edition controller, which I actually think is one of the better looking controllers I've seen.
Okay.
Uh,
Interesting.
I'm not personally hating on Concord. I just remember seeing it and I was just like, I have no desire to play this. Like I don't know. I didn't see anything too
Yeah.
special about it.
For those who don't know, it was unveiled as a live service multiplayer only hero shooter game.
Right.
So kind of I guess like Fortnite maybe a
Well,
little,
but a
or
lot of people compared it with Overwatch.
Overwatch. Yes, that makes
Yeah.
more sense. Okay.
Yeah, sort of like Overwatch.
More like underwatched because no one played it. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. It just didn't look too appealing to me. I'm not surprised they want to try it as a free to play. I have to tell you, I don't know. I don't think that's going to solve their problem.
Well, is that
I
what
don't.
happened? Because maybe the news I saw was a little bit older, and it said that it was rumored to be coming back because people were seeing that they were still patching it, and it apparently had been like ended.
They shut it down. I
Right.
mean, they completely shut it down and issued refunds to people.
Yeah.
But if people are somehow noticing that updates are being made, I would say probably.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people said they were going to try to make it a free to play live service game. I mean, why wouldn't you at this point, right? You spent years developing it. I could see them trying to just get something back, right?
Yeah. I think they're in a bit
Yeah.
of a sticky grape jelly like situation.
That's right. I don't, yeah,
With all the development time and money they spent creating it. So yeah, well, there's your Concord news.
there you go. You heard it here. Yeah. I'll tell you what was a good game though, Shinobi. And you actually made me aware that a Shinobi movie might be in development at Universal.
Absolutely. So Shinobi was one of those games that brought like Shaw Brothers style early 60s. So I think if you have like Tarantino, his generation, which is a little bit older than us, they got their pop media from old kung fu movies, right?
Right.
If you're a
Okay.
kid like me growing up in the 80s, you got it from video games. And Shinobi
Yeah.
was one of those games that just brought that culture to the screen that we really hadn't seen before. And it was a smash hit both on Nintendo and in the arcades. I remember going to the arcade and they had a Shinobi game which was
Right.
decidedly better than the Nintendo version. The Nintendo version was great for 8-bit, but the arcade version was phenomenal. You know, it's extremely hard, but it was very cool. It kind of reminded me of R-Type in terms of like you'd get to these areas where there'd be big bosses and
Yeah.
lots of stuff on screen, lots of sprites and stuff moving around, but very action oriented. So I think it's a natural fit to now become a film.
Yeah. I like games like that where if you get out of your rhythm, if you're not paying attention, you get punished very quickly.
Hmm.
But if you are paying attention and you get that timing right on your attacks, it feels very satisfying and you're
Yes.
rewarded for just staying on top of it mentally.
Well, Shinobi was the first couple levels anyone could play. And then
Yeah.
it ramped up difficulty. And I believe it was probably one of the first NES games that had a cutscene. Like there was this really cool,
Oh,
you're running
interesting.
through the fields. I think it was in the the two, combatants jump up into the air and you see this sword play.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was really, really cool. But that game got so hard very quickly. It
Yeah.
was it was up
Yeah.
there. I do feel like Cuphead was inspired by the original Shinobi along with a few others.
Oh, yeah.
And I
Yeah.
actually see time trial or what are these speedrunner people will play the original Shinobi now, and I'm watching them play, and I'm like, dude, this is really hard.
I don't watch a lot of speedrunner videos, but that would be very
Hmm.
entertaining, I think. Yeah.
This makes sense for Sega to move it into the film realm because of their huge success with Sonic. And they also have the spin-off Knuckles now, which is a TV series that just came out this year. So, I mean, I think
Yeah.
Sega is really going into their game library and they're seeing success with bringing video games to film. Before, 20 years ago, it was if it was a cool movie, it might be made into a video game.
Right. Yeah.
Now it's the opposite. Now it's like, hey, great game. Let's turn this into a movie.
The company that did the Sonic movies, I know they got the rights. I don't know if they're actively working because they've bought the rights to a ton of different video games. But one of them they said is in development. Is they're making a movie based on the game Dredge, which is very
Mm.
exciting to me
Hmm.
because I love Dredge. That game is so good.
Yeah.
And I could, it lends itself, I'll say
Oh,
this,
yeah.
the it lends itself to a movie that I would be there opening night.
Mhm. Yep.
The movies turned into video games. Some of those were so bad.
What's your favorite?
Here's my favorite terrible one. So Street Fighter was a classic, just celebrated game.
Mhm.
Then they made the Street Fighter movie, which is already just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then they made Street Fighter colon the movie colon the game.
Mhm.
And it was, and they did it Mortal Kombat style where they would actually they got the actors to, like, they created frames of animation from actor stills, right?
Yeah.
And like, and it just, I don't, I think it did so terribly. I think people just hated it.
Yeah. I remember hearing how bad it was.
Because I don't think you can like get that backwards compatible in the Nintendo Switch eShop.
Mhm. The Mario Brothers movie was pretty good. Jack Black obviously
Yeah,
brought a lot with the music. The story was fun and
it was
interesting.
adequate.
So, mhm.
I remember telling people, I said, judging it as a movie, I don't know if it's a good movie,
Mhm.
but man, it was so much fun. As a Mario fan and someone who grew up playing Mario, I don't know if it's a good movie and I don't care because it's a fun movie.
Yeah.
I just had a lot of fun.
Michael, for me, all of these CGI movies have become so tired.
Yeah.
I have not been excited to see. I think Moana was like the last good digital movie that I appreciated the music, I appreciated the story. I can't think of. I don't get excited about these movies anymore. In fact,
Yeah.
we watched. I think it was Going South or Heading South. It's about ducks. I just threw it on because we needed
Right.
something, and it's got a bunch of famous people in it, as they all do. It's so. It's just the same rehashed tropes and things over and
Right.
over again. And I kind of
Yeah.
got that in the Mario Brothers movie. I'm waiting for something that's going to revolutionize animation and storytelling in that format.
Yeah.
So far, I haven't seen it. I don't, not to say that Shinobi's going to do that, but
Right. But at least it'll be different.
yeah, if it's live action, I mean, that'd be sweet.
The thing is with these animated movies is they had to innovate, right? I remember when Toy Story first, like the trailer came out,
Hmm.
and I remember even as young as I was then, I was impressed by the tech. And I remember saying, oh, it's not going to be a good movie though. Like, because I bet they're going to rely on the tech.
Hmm.
And I was pleasantly surprised at how wrong I was because they did write a good script. They had great voice acting, and Toy Story ended up being a classic.
Yep.
Pixar was doing a great job of innovating, and then everyone else got their hands on this tech, and then it started to just go downhill again. Then they started
It
doing,
got so diluted.
yeah, they started doing amazing things again with lighting. So, like, some people don't like Monsters University.
Hmm.
I thought it was good. And the reason I felt it was really worth watching when it came out is because that was the first Pixar movie where they were doing, they had this new lighting system where
Hmm.
just, it was gorgeous. Like lighting, it's kind of what games are trying to do in the next 10 years with like ray tracing and stuff. And it was just how like light bounced realistically off the walls and off characters.
Hmm.
But now everyone can do that. Now everyone can do it. It's less impressive. And it's just, yeah, they're just churning it out.
I remember seeing Monsters University in the theater, and compared to Heading South, I'm probably getting that wrong.
Yeah, I think it's Going South or something.
Going South, whatever, who cares? It's
Yeah,
I saw it
yeah.
on my home TV, which is probably 4K. Did not look anywhere near as good as Monsters University, or even like,
Mm,
dare say, the original Cars movie. It just looked
right.
flat and kind of uninspired and cheaply made.
Man, it's always about, was a project made with love or did they churn it out to make money?
Hmm.
We talked about Jurassic Park and how good that movie holds up today? Well, it's because they took their time. It's because they cared.
Hmm.
Most of these animated films, they don't care. And do you know how easy it is to get a celebrity to drop in on a Tuesday and do all their voice lines in a studio? They don't have to get into makeup.
Especially when you pay them buttloads of money. Yeah.
Yeah. You pay them a ton of money. You're like, come in. You don't have to wear nice clothes. It's so easy for an actor to just go in and record.
Hmm.
So yeah, they all get these celebrities, and that's a draw. Don't get me wrong, because when I see one of my favorite celebrities is in a movie, I'm like, well, maybe I'll see it.
Right.
Yeah. I wanted to just finally talk about Space Marine 2.
Mm.
I have not played this yet.
This sounds super generic. This is not on my radar.
That's isn't that what's funny? So it's is it Warhammer? Yeah, it's Warhammer.
Okay. Oh, Space Marine from Warhammer. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because it does have a very generic sounding title. It's like Space Marine.
Hmm.
They're war guys in space.
Jacked up and good to go.
They're so jacked up. Warhammer is a beloved franchise that I personally never got into.
Hmm.
In a past podcast episode, we've talked about how important art design is.
Hmm.
They just have a look that never appealed to me. So it's never been something I got into. I gotta say, I have watched videos of Space Marine 2, and I'm like, holy crap, I
Mm.
have got to play this game. It looks so fun.
Yeah.
But
It's 3-player co-op, right?
yeah. So developers recently said in an interview that compromises were made. And they admit that the game's story was limited by its 3-player co-op and that they, quote, could have done way more.
Hmm.
I saw this article, I read it, I go to the comments, and the comments are this even split of people saying, this is disappointing. If they didn't, quote unquote, force multiplayer, we could have had more game. And then there are equal amounts of comments saying, oh, this was a good decision because I'm only playing this game with my friends.
Hmm.
And if it didn't have co-op, I probably wouldn't have touched it.
Yeah. It sounds like a case of not having enough focus, wanting too many things, wanting both co-op, wanting the single player story, and then having to compromise on both. But I mean, every developer has to compromise on something at some point. So that's
Yeah,
part of the industry.
that's just part of how it is.
Hmm.
And it is actually very fascinating. I have friends that generally, not that they don't play single player games, because they do, but whenever there's a choice between a single player experience or co-op, they're going co-op every time.
Hmm.
And I'm the opposite. I've had my phases where I play a ton of co-op or a ton of Call of Duty or Sea of Thieves,
Hmm.
and then I go back to the cave and I'm just playing single player for like the next 2 years. I just have these phases.
There's definitely something intoxicating about playing with multiple people.
Yeah.
That real person feedback, doing cool things as a team, or fighting against real life people. I remember World of Warcraft when you would have these big battles against the other faction, and it's some of the best gaming moments I've ever
Yep.
been a part of, because it was real people
Yep.
both
I
on my
agree.
team talking with me as well as who we were fighting against.
Yeah.
However, I'm kind of more like you. Like, I did that phase, and now it's all about taking my own time, exploring what I want to explore.
Yeah.
If I want to spend 25 minutes looking at the wall because I like the
Yep.
texture, then
Yep.
I can do that.
Yeah. And so that's what's interesting to me is uh there are, like, I think back to Gears of War. I want to say Gears 5. It
Hmm.
was whatever the most recent Gears game that they added these open world hub sections.
Hmm.
It was such a terrible idea for that franchise, in my opinion, because in the original Gears of War games, it was very linear.
Right.
Here's the thing. My wife and I played co-op through all the older Gears of War games.
Hmm.
And it was such a good co-op game because it was like, start here, objective is there, let's go. Fight,
Hmm.
fight, fight, kill, 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 help each other up. And then in this new one, they added these open world side things that you could choose to do or not.
Hmm.
And every single time we got to an open world section, it was like, do you want to do the side stuff? Do you want, or do you
Right.
want to just go forward? And it was always this discussion. And then the other person is like, well, I don't know. Do you want to do it?
Fine.
I don't know. Yeah. And it was like that works for a single player game
Hmm.
because you can choose. But like having to always worry if like your co-op partner is having a fun time or not,
Yeah.
it just wasn't a good idea.
You know what they
So
call Gears of War in the UK?
what?
Cogs of War. Cogs of War?
Cogs of Well, it's funny. It's funny you say that because in the actual game they call the soldiers cogs.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah. So it's all they were almost there anyway.
Funny.
Yeah.
Oh, brother. Okay, well.
Or you get excuse me, the dog tags were called cog tags.
Ah,
That's what it was. And
okay.
I actually I've got a pair.
You got some cog tags?
I've got cog tags.
Nice. We have a couple people to thank.
A lot of our supporters have come from the Starfield podcast, but what's nice is we get into the Discord, we get into the Patreon, and we're all playing different games as well. Like
Mhm.
it's fun to see what everyone is playing even outside of Starfield. And we have our legendary supporters, as always, that we want to thank. And that is, we've got Zigra Rocks, Griffin, Cherry Bomb RN, Rampage American X, Kittlehara, Space Cadet, Bergenstock, and we've got a couple new ones to thank. We've got the Great Serpent and Chim Chim.
Ooh, Chim Chim. Nice. Chim Chim and Bing Bang Boom Bang should get together and hang out.
I'm not entirely certain that's not the same person with a new name. I'm not sure.
Well, thanks to everyone that listens on streaming and to those watching on YouTube. All links are provided in the show notes below.
And super special thanks for comments and feedback. If you have a comment or a suggestion, you can leave it on our YouTube page or come chat with us in the Discord.
If you like the show, consider dropping a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app. That would really help us out.
Thanks for hanging with Normal People Gaming, and make sure you subscribe because we will be back for more.
We'll see you then.